All right, fellas, we are 1 minute late, but that is okay because we have a guest. We have a guest of honor. We're going to be bringing on in like probably just a second. Um, but first, I guess any illuminations, any great points today.
I guess I'm interested in further fleshing out what applied memetics can mean.
Hmm.
I think sort of the arc, as I'm coming to understand what it is we're trying to do, is articulating meme culture in a way that has not yet been achieved. I would say there's a couple entities who have started to venture into the space for a lot of different reasons. You know, we all know mainstream media think pieces on why memes are always, racist tools of the alt right or wholesome frog memes, whatever may have you. I think our arc is trying to kind of like lay out the groundwork for what this is going to look like 10 years from now when it's talked about in a more serious sense. Okay, this is odd. I think I'm gonna send the invite to back to Chris. Somehow I'm the host of the show now. I don't know if his internet just went out. Let's see if we can find the invite button. I'm going to call Chris.
Okay.
What the fuck is
Wow.
that?
Yeah, I know. I have no idea. All right. Wow. All right. I just got back from an unbelievable journey. What seemed like a few seconds was like a decade for me, and I've seen the future.
All right.
But I
That
can't
was
I can't tell you.
I hope this is a meme, but I hope it's not a meme. Honestly, this is good. What have we learned?
I'm sad. I did in fact I was in the future, but I didn't watch what you said in the 10 years that I had to. But I want to hear now.
What I Oh, you didn't hear any of what I said. The That's interesting. Did anyone in the chat hear what I had said about
I think you
applied?
were up.
Okay. I was talking about laying out like some of the framework to discuss meme culture. Applied memetics is kind of a funny way to state this notion of the principles of memetics and like the field of memetics has existed and it's kind of like scorned in the academic world, but I would consider meme culture as like the application of some of these principles. And if anything, we want to try to provide some of the language to
Hmm.
discuss this. And both I would say there's rules, there's axioms of virality, and if there's ways to mobilize it in the same way like Saul Alinsky, his rules for radicals, like we need rules for memers.
Well, that was something that I saw talked about in a really good piece that my friend had written. And he talked about how the OTO, Crowley's organization, had been overtaken by very passive people when Thelema was meant to be something very active and fiery.
Mhm.
And he thought this was no mistake. So I think that a lot of the denunciation, the public denunciations of memes, are meant to try and quell something that will have real effects. It would not have been so quickly squashed were it not something that were going to actually affect people.
Mhm. We got someone asked if they could ask you a question.
You can ask a question.
Are
Are
we
you,
gonna add young R?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, all right. Well, yeah. That is part of why I came back from the future.
You realize we had to add him in immediately. Um,
Otherwise, we would be
cool.
lost.
I've recently been watching the Umbrella Academy, the Netflix kind of endeavor. Is comic book beforehand, but the Netflix endeavor into like Netflixing Watchmen is kind of what I think of it as. Like if you could try to take away a lot of the most compelling aspects of Watchmen and make it something that everyone could watch very easily, the Umbrella Academy. But time travel is a big theme in that, and there's this like notion of years and years going by and coming back, and trying to articulate this experience. What is what does the future look like? Tell us. What is 10 years from now?
The ability to differentiate between time and timelines is very difficult.
Greetings.
Going.
We three have met. In the future as well. This is not the last time that this happens.
Did you like find it
wow.
was all of us were in a stream, we were just much older, and maybe you weren't there for some reason, or did you meet an older version of yourself while you were
No, all interactions with the future were through new versions of YouTube, of which there are like 70.
Okay, what do we have on tap today?
Yes. What do you have to bring to the table, Younger?
What do I have? Oh man. Well, a few of my thoughts through the day, really. Earlier today I got an ad on my email for INFP music, and it was targeting me specifically because I'm an INFP in the Myers-Briggs test. It got me thinking, like, how did they get this information? And then I started thinking about just kind of our media and how maybe in the future our media will be segregated to types of people or personalities. Like you'll have a Netflix account for this specific type of people. But I mean, I don't know. That's just an idea.
Isn't that nightmarish? Can you imagine having, just INFP movies? Well, I guess it speaks. There's an idea like only a certain type of people make things in general. So if you only have some people that make things, one can assume that there's most types of people watch things. Therefore, who the fuck is going to be do INFPs make things for INFPs, or do ENFPs make things for INFPs, and so on? Do we need to have an intercourse?
This is going to look like the fucking astrology thing, how you have all these pairings for people. It's going to be like Virgos will only make things for Aquariuses and vice versa. That makes me think of this thing I saw on r/stupid poll, where it was like this kind of long post about how a capital firm had just purchased like all the data from ancestry.com, and the idea is like genetic marketing, where it will be able to tell you have like, one, it'll know your area, and two, it'll know like the general social makeup, like social and what have you. But the main theme of it was like capitalism is evolving, and we're going to have marketing that's like hyper targeted, and it's going to feed off of all of your perceptions of who you are as a person.
I've just received a horrific vision, actually, now that I think about it. Once we have scientific proof for astrology and for the zodiac, we will have kind of inception or conception-based eugenics, where people will be like, well, more like if we have quantifiable zodiacal data, it'll be like, well, most Aquarians are weak. Therefore, I don't want to have an Aquarian child. We will avoid having sex this month. Like, it'll be like, oh, we all want an Aries. We all want an Aries. Or we all want a Scorpio.
Try to build the Ubermensch through the zodiac.
That is what will happen. That's why we're keeping it.
Aries gang right here, man. That's where it's at.
Okay. All right. So we have 2 fire and 1 earth in the middle.
I'm a lowly analyst. I'm a lowly Virgo, offering my astute autistic commentary.
What is your moon sign, Young R?
I don't actually know. I got to look more into it. I'm not huge into astrology yet. I'm working my way up.
Once you read fucking Ion, man. But my moon is Virgo. Virgo is based. Virgo is a good sign.
I think maybe we talked about at some point some time ago witch talk and the negative aspects of the arrogance of thinking you can hex the moon. But I've been mulling it over more recently, and I think I'm actually a massive fan of witch talk because I find they believe in something, and they believe in something more compelling than most narratives that I think currently exist to placate people, which are it's just your chemicals, bro.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. I agree. I think witch talk at its most basic level is a wonderful thing. But I really do think that there needs to be a theoretical basis. There just needs to be just little bits of theory introduced, inoculated even. They just need to have some degree of understanding. Like even just the line, science is the art, wow, that was an interesting slip. But magic is the art and science of causing change and conformity with your will. If they could just take that and be like, yes, and then move on,
Yeah,
that'd be good. If they knew what manifestation was and what it could do.
I see that problem across the board in spiritual communities or even Jungians. It's just nobody has, they don't have like an authority on anything, or they don't have that discipline. When we're doing like dream recordings and stuff, and you look at like dream interpretation subreddits and stuff, it's so bad. It's all over the place. And then that's actually why I've been kind of working on this little app. I put together a little team and we're working together, but it's going to help people to record their dreams, and it will help analyze it for them in a way.
Oh, see,
and
that's all right.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Not just dreams, but all types of experiences. So like mystical experiences, there's lots of ways you can get there, but it wants
I have to tell you, this works. In the future, this is already, you're right. This is going to succeed. That's part of why I had to go ahead. I knew that this was talked about.
Really?
We're actually in Silicon Valley 10 years from now. We're at the headquarters of the app, and this moment seeded the investment round. Everyone in the audience is actually part of this too. We all put together $10, and we're able to finish it within the week.
I have to go back to the future. I have to go back to the future for a quick second, but I will return. Goodbye.
All right.
What's he doing?
I don't know. This has I hope there's some weird significance of this. I'm seeing some funny comments in the chat about your video resolution is slightly lower, so it's like you're coming from the dream world, and you are.
Yeah.
I'm gonna build off something you said. I don't know if I completely interpreted it, but it made me think of the notion of I don't see a lot of internet age academics with the same sway as some of the great either psychoanalysts or writers or artists or what have you. And part of that's obviously because we're amidst the time now, so it's we're not going to know who the big people to listen to are. But I guess in the academic landscape specifically, it's it feels kind of rigged against people dissenting too far, unless they're willing to just full on Justin Murphy it and become this entity on their own. But what do you think of given your output?
If you want to go the academic route, you have to stick to the rules that are set for you, and those rules are quite rigid. I can't remember which philosopher it was, but they're talking about how in different time periods you're just stuck in a box, right, of philosophy, and you can't escape that. So for people that want to get into dream interpretation or anything humanist like that, and you want to try to build credibility, or it's not just dream interpretation, these more numinous subjects, right? You have to be an artist to do it, and you have to become your own authority in a way, like Justin Murphy. You have to be able to create something.
I think about how Nick Land, he's figure mired in controversy, but he's like framed himself as like a psycho shaman now because he's transcended philosophy. But the paradigms thing makes me think of I took like a couple of years ago this class on it was like an intro to philosophy of science, and I think it's Thomas Kuhn proposed this like paradigms of science and this theory that like for the most part people, if you want to be a successful scientist, you have to operate within the general paradigm, just because if you're poking holes in the like tenured professors at your university, if you're the young upstart who's trying to push forward the field, like they're going to be like, hey, fuck you, I spent my life
get
doing
up on
this.
out of here. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
But that's definitely, I feel like the internet, it'll be a weird transition, and I see people like hugging the intersect of it. Like I am a part-time strategist for social media stuff, and I know this guy who is a TikToker who's a physics professor, and he is somewhere in between being like a lecturer and just being like a meme lord on physics. And it's like he to me is like hugging the intersect of like, if at some point he was like, you know what, fuck the university, I know all this stuff about like the basic intro to physics, I could just make my own channel where I make the reforms I see fit. But TikTok physics,
TikTok University. Yeah, TikTok University, yes. Baby.
Meme textbooks, that's what we need. It's all got to be like fucking Wojaks.
I hope there is kind of a shift in the way that we're educating ourselves and thinking about just everything, because I don't know that I know that the empirical worldview has gained us a lot. We've come a long way in technology and such, but we've lost such a spiritual aspect to ourselves, and that encompasses a lot of things, but it's not so good. That's kind of what I want to help introduce with dream interpretation. And I've seen that a lot of people are very interested in having their dreams looked at. There's just nobody to do it. Like nobody trustable, trustworthy.
I just read a newspaper headline. Newspapers are still around. And the headline read, Dead God Found in Space.
This is like the Rick and Morty Rick and Morty thing. Out there, we found a dead Zeus.
That is where we've shoved off all that meaningful garbage. We don't need archetypes. That's all in space floating around right now, while scientific robots are stabbing one another to get samples of DNA that DNA no longer exists.
I was just reading that the Pentagon set out a task force to look at UFO phenomena today. No, that is specifically from today, but that was the headline on the news app.
They're going to be,
interesting.
Trying to take DNA samples from aliens, and they're just going to find pretty much like mucus, human mucus, because it's ectoplasm, because they're materializations of the unconscious.
Fuck. I think y'all know like the saying like don't switch it's like the saying used for presidents where it's like you don't want to switch horses midstream, or it's like switch riders, some shit like that. But it's used to like when a president is in war, it's like they're far more likely to be reelected. I think Trump's master plan, the capitulation of 5D chess, is that we're going to war with aliens, and he's gonna announce it fucking at the debate, and he's gonna out Biden as like a gray underneath his skin suit, and he's gonna like
that would be so fucking good.
Sweep.
Man. Or a tractor beam comes and like or even better, aliens like confirm Donald Trump is one of them. He is an enlightened spiritual leader. Like, have you seen
He's
that
an
meme
Anunnaki?
Of, like, yeah. The meme of like Nordic Anunnaki, like shaking his hand, and he's got like the glowing blue eyes, like a Fremen. Yes, Pharmacos. This actually happened. We're joking about it. They're joking about it. I've seen it. This is true.
I think fucking Jesus Christ, the Trump alien thing would be I think he's got to. We gotta like we gotta ramp it up. We're slowing down a bit. The Kamala Harris fucking Biden pick was a little too boring. If we want to full on accelerate into our new political horizon, we need we need to drop Pence and get a Kanye running mate announced.
Mhm. I agree. I think Pence should be dropped if you want to. Trump is held back, restrained from becoming Jungian wizard again. He was in the beginning, and he needs to become it at the end through aliens.
Fuck, here's
Maybe
an idea,
the age of
actually.
Aquarius.
Yeah. No, the end of the Piscean. No, sorry. I feel like that was a simultaneous. We ideated at the same time. The idea is, this is a meme intelligence agency product that we're going to concept out right now. But the alien, I feel like if aliens were to communicate with us now, it would have to be through a medium we understand. So we need like an alien Twitter account that we get like verified through some means, and it's like, fucking tweeting out these hot takes, and it's like, all right, Trump is one of us. Fucking, we know Hillary's drinking children's blood. We know, blah 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 blah.
Z-Anon.
Yes. Reuse the format. Chris, what's going
And
on? Are you having troubles right now?
Yes. I'll be back.
He has to keep going back. We're rewriting history right now. He's fucking with the timeline.
Oh man. I was gonna say that the QAnon thing. I work with a bunch of boomers, so I do butchery in my spare time, and half of them don't even believe the coronavirus is real. It's just a conspiracy to them, and the Q has infiltrated the boomer sphere big time.
I've heard this from Chris as well. I'm privileged to work with a lot of like millennials and Gen Xers, and I'd say they are possessed by different like spirits in the media. But I think it's at times maybe more there's more realism in their approach than going full Q. But Q is a good meme. I mean, it got a lot of people. Fucking there's a lot of the right was very unironically Q, or at least like signaling they were on that wave for a little bit before it when it became
I guess
evident.
there's. Sorry, what?
Before it became evident that it was just like, Eagle Code 567, protect the truth is coming.
It's
The truth has come, and it looks like fire in the sky.
explain. Give me some details. Give me the juicy details.
Genitals are replaced with actual fire and water, but it's like a hologram. It's an eye implant.
It's the logical conclusion to Nicki Minaj and Cardi B's song "Wet Ass Pussy."
Precisely. That is a landmark. That is a milestone moment that defines the future of genitality.
Is Elon Musk involved in making implants?
He is a progenitor of these eye to genital hologram machines. Yes. But what I thought we should talk about, let's talk. I mean, not that I even have any say in this. I've been in it for like 2 minutes. We should start a multi-level marketing thing and call it a religion, so that we reap the profits of multi-level marketing, but we have the tax exemption of a religion.
Brilliant.
I
actually
already designed it in the future.
I have a thought.
It's like neo-Mormonism.
Yes. We can build off this as an idea, and this might be the seed for what we try to make happen through our collective effort of this episode. Are y'all familiar with Tiny Meat Gang? It's a musical duo made up of Cody Ko and Noel Miller. They're like popular commentary channels. They're very popular in the normie sphere, and they told a story on their podcast of meeting Grimes and Elon Musk, and they met them as hooded figures holding lanterns, and they were invited into some sort of weird occult rite. So I have a suspicion that Elon Musk is an avid meme analysis viewer. He might be in the chat right now. So our intention is to contact out, get some of our ideas in front of them, maybe get some conversation going a little back and forth in an email chain. So later this episode we'll will it.
Well, it is known Grimes reads Nick Land without a doubt. No, really, like We Appreciate Power is a Landian song. It is not just a transhumanist. It is distinctly a Nick Land, I guess, fanfic. But yeah, I think that what we need to distinguish is that I think the synchronicity that is occurring is without a doubt a message to and from the future. Through this podcast is the vessel. Obviously, me going in and out between the two worlds, we need to reach out truly to the other world.
How is that? How do we accomplish that?
How do we?
I was talking to Chris the other day about some dreams I've had, and I actually dreamt a meeting between me and Chris, and we were discussing a project, and a third name was brought up. I don't know exactly who, and I'm not sure if it was meant to be literal or if it was just a placeholder, but Chris was definitely there. And near the end of the meeting, he said, "We will talk later." And I said, "Yes, through the collective unconscious, through dreams." And he agreed. And that was the end of the dream. But it got me thinking of the potential of time travel through dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that sounds absolutely bonkers and crazy to people listening, but the psyche is beyond space-time. And we've both talked about this. We talk about synchronicity, but the psyche is able to reach places that our conscious mind simply cannot.
Are y'all familiar with holofractal? It's like a subreddit that attempts to explain some of this phenomena through like quantum physics. But that was an angle I took to kind of end up at maybe some of the more collective energy type theories. But I feel if there's ever an angle to be taken to like add any more empirical lenses, there's this he's kind of like somewhere in between a guru and a quantum physicist who's like a proponent of this notion that the the like energy, I can't explain it well, honestly. Everyone just go look up r/holofractal, but I feel like that's the other thing we got to rope in, because if we just take all the ideas, just package it in a way that TikTok can comprehend, bam.
Well, that is what I think the guy might be drawing from the Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot, which we had talked about before, and that's drawing heavily from synchronicity and from Jung. But yeah, I think that's and Junger, I think that's the thing that Jungians deny about dreams. Or if it is about if they're talking about the relativity of the unconscious, it's really only in the context of their own personal life. They do not care for the collective unconscious as something beyond collective sources of personal imagery. They don't care about the real interactions in life through the collective.
I was even reading on a Jungian blog that the new Jungians don't believe in the archetypes or something that died with Jung.
Oh my God!
And the archetypes. They don't believe in the archetypes.
Literally the only thing worth saving.
Well, why are you even Jungian then? But it's sad how people aren't able to. Well, go ahead.
No. It's just I think it's a profound narcissism on their part. It's like archetypes are only real insofar as I am an archetype. Only insofar as my struggle is meaningful. but all of you have nothing. And as for energy, it's not real. It's very, very miserable.
It has been. If you go to the Jung subreddit, there's just a meme base for people making collages of their psyche, and it's like, my anima is this anime girl, my shadow is this character from Naruto or whatever, and it's sad to me because Jung is something so deep and so profound. At least like he really helped me to not lose my soul when I lost other parts of my life, mainly religion, but he helped me transition and grow. And so to see people just using it as a meme thing, it is sad.
I guess that's how people feel about my channel too, because I take Jung and make it a meme thing, but I do it correctly. I take the real Jung and try to infect people with it, and I think it works sometimes.
I think
Blair, how much exposure do you have to Jung?
I like 2 years ago, I read, like, when I was working as a graphic designer, I would like sit on my computer and read his autobiography because I thought that was pretty saucy. He has some good stories in his youth, but I like to think of myself as like meme educated through a lot of things, and more so like I have an intuitive sense of putting together particular patterns and information, but I've watched some YouTube videos. I think it's like the notion of the collective consciousness I've seen appear in so much recently, and kind of like my connecting idea is the way information and just like memetic transmission or transfer between individuals has accelerated over the past. If you trace it to that exponential technology curve, the way that's accelerated with it is it's a very evident parallel, and it feels as if when that happens, the strict cultural narratives that like particular people might advocate for, that like, oh, history began 2,000 years ago, history went this way, and this particular religion is right about it, they all begin to like bleed at the seams, and all you can see is the patterns. So to me, that is why all of this is the logical conclusion. Maybe logic has a bad connotation now because we hate science, but no, I do think there is a particular, like, it's an undeniability that is emerging through anyone who has been exposed to like the heights of what the internet does to the brain.
A lot of people now, there's a huge movement against pattern seeking in cultural analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's viewed as it's almost, I guess, a racist thing, they call it sometimes, because if you say, because it's I guess, and it's weird because what we talked about with the 60s, where it used to be like, oh man, not everything's black and white. Now we're back to like everything's black and white. Whereas in the past there was much more of an interest in like, well, we all come from the same thing. We're all tapped into the same source. That is now like not a cool thing to talk about. That is, even though it's true, it's not cool. And everybody, the right wing racists and the left wing racists both want to maintain a bizarre symbolic segregation, even. And I was actually thinking about. I won't get into too many hot takes. But I will write it down. It deserves to be written about. But I think that Jung applied to race is, I think, the necessary conversation for people to understand like generational trauma and how collective trauma can be passed on.
Definitely. And how there's a collective shadow too, and there's a lot going on, these dynamics that happen just in passing events. There's so much synchronicity that can happen. And that's why I love what you do, is because, I remember Jung actually talking about how he worked on framing the inner psyche for the individual, but he always hoped that there'd be someone that would come along that would do so for the collective. And I think that that's what meme analysis does.
Oh, thank you. I hope to get as many people as possible doing it because it's a mass work. It's a very massive work. And yeah, Element Zero, young and race is a topic that's really sorely misunderstood, I think, because yeah, of course, Young was a racist. Crowley was a racist. Everybody was fucking racist. That's just the way that things were. But doesn't mean his ideas are racist intrinsically. So I think that instead of people actually utilizing his theories to talk about race, it's just like, oh, he was a racist. Fuck him. Like everything you talk, every word you speak was created by somebody who was racist, no doubt. Or at least every word, every root word was said by somebody who was racist. Just like in your family, you listening, you are eventually a product of incest, eventually a product of rape. There was somewhere along your line some evil motherfucker, and you have to accept that. You can't be like, oh, I have to be clean, I have to be good, everything has to be good forever and ever. Just accept what reality is, man.
That's very based of you.
Yeah, we're getting into too hot. We're getting into it. We're getting too hot. What I'm saying is that we all have to practice understanding to some extent.
Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Don't ever do that.
We have a whole like baby basin. We need to have as many baths as possible. Collect all the babies. That's like the X-Men, right? That's like all the babies who were thrown out with the bathwater, and it's the one Professor X trying to upraise these bathwater babies.
Bathwater babies. I like that.
The hype house, the occult hype house, should be centered around this notion of it's a common trope in media, but those who are not wanted, the misfits, the indigo children, the what have you. I view it as it can be appropriated to be sort of a strive towards individuality in the face of being raised in a suburbia without any defining characteristics of your own. But I do think there are very real instances where this manifests, and creating a home for that is important.
And I think that really raises a really important dynamic and a really important what could be a contradiction, especially in the Book of the Law from Crowley, which is that we are not for the people, and that we are not for the unfit and the miserable, and that they should die. So it's very difficult because you can at one point you can be like, yeah, we like misfits, we like people who are outcasts, but at the same time, I think that we have to look at it from a spiritual lens. So the people that are who can be socially outcast are not necessarily. They might be socially outcast for a spiritual reason. So of course there will be true wretches who should be stamped down, but there will also be people who have ill manners because they are going against the times. Mm-hmm. So I think there's the difference between a man against the times and a failed man of the times in terms of individuals.
Undoubtedly, indubitably. Fuck. Yeah, no, I mean, I really think there is evidently many people who are disenfranchised. Like you talk about the Reiki and like aristocratic elite. Like I think that concept's really fucking hilarious because I don't know if y'all have met, like there are some odd people in the world who have these pools of energy that are truly admirable, and it makes one wonder what they're putting in the water of the fucking kids of CIA New England people. But another one on that is I met this kid who his parents are like pseudo European royalty, and he was raised like without school. He was raised just to like teach himself through means of like he's now like the kids, it's absolutely like insane what he has been able to accomplish at his age, but he's like traveled the world and just goes like and like does contract programming work for like Intel and all these big companies. And I think there's something to be said about these types of the frames of mind you can be raised with. Additionally, with this like these weird superpower individuals, we want those misfits.
I know a girl like that, not she dropped out of school and then homeschooled, and in so doing like became the most advanced, traveled, like you were saying. So I definitely think but I do think you have to go from a point of like go in, get out, go up. Not to be Tim Leary, completely not Tim Leary, but that's what we need to do. Like,
what do you think is wrong with the school system right now that we have? 'Cause I think it's pretty clear that there's something wrong with the way that we're just shoving our kids out. I don't know what could be done to better that system, but I know it's not working.
Archetypal education, kindergarten, ABC, 1, 2, 3, anima, shadow, king, magician, old man. Really, 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 really. If you can't teach children to comprehend what they read, it's not worth teaching. They're never. Also, there's a guy who I was reading, and he advocates for the mandatory age of schooling should end at 12. You should only have to go to school until you're 12. And I think that is completely right. And I think that most people should not be literate. Honestly, I do not think we need the mass literacy that we have. It has convinced too many people of a aptitude for things that truly people are not meant to do. So in that sense, we should return to pre-Charlemagne, pre-Magna Carta. Like we need to define the peasant caste immediately.
The feudal system. We need feudalism. We need monarchy. Royal bloodlines only. I'd say I like the non-mandatory schooling thing because I do think many people would excel if you put them in environments that were more tailored towards like their predispositions. But that makes me conclude mentorship is something, I found in my lifetime, I learn at like fucking 20 times the rate if I'm with someone one-on-one who's like teaching me a particular discipline, as opposed to, because it's a trite saying, but not everyone goes the same speed in a classroom, and as a result you have to typically tailor. I'd say the last was like this school, there are instances of this being undermined because like I know kids who have gone to these very hoity-toity types of schools where no one gets a grade and everyone gets to critique the teacher, and we give grades to the teacher instead, and the room is an orb. It's an orb, everybody, and we meditate together. And like there might be some credence to that, but like the Pavlovian school system of like associating particular it's behavioral psychology implemented into like how to get as many like workers who are going to listen to go to line up in the factories. That's it's been said many times, but I think there's credence to it, especially in like most public schooling systems. Everyone should be.
I just wanted to clarify. I don't actually think that nobody should be literate. I do think that, but somebody put it perfectly in the comments that we need to dejunk literacy. But go on. But I completely agree. Sophists and mentors are the way.
Yeah, I think. No, I would agree with the notion of dejunking words though. Like I think we have a mass quelling. Not book burnings, but we go through the dictionary and we're like, this word has 15 synonyms. Fuck all these other words. We're only going to say good now. The opposite of what they tell you in writing classes. You're not smarter if you say bigger words. This is a critique I get a lot, is that I talk like thesauruses.
You are double plus ungood.
Yes. Fuck. Yeah, no.
We
need to return to monkey.
We hardly use our literacy anyway with kind of the internet and just the meme culture. It's not like we're really talking very high diction stuff. It's just very basic memes out there. And I wonder how kids do with that and how they grow up. Because I know that we don't read books most people don't. It just seems like the tides are going in a different way about how we consume our information.
Mass schizophrenia. There is no, and that's the thing. There's a very thin veil of consumption, and it's becoming thinner and thinner. Yeah, Pharmacos, I love that essay. But I disagree with him on poetics, I will say. I mean, I think for newspapers, for politics, he's right. But I do think that art needs junk. But what's it called? The veil of consumption, or the so the schizo child. There is no veil between iPad and mind, eyes. Just in the same way, there's probably more of a veil between them and their fucking parents. They probably have a more difficult time understanding their parents than they do the simplistic, made for children mind control materials that they're taking in their fucking iPads. Do you see the kids? I hope your kid doesn't do this, younger. Not to out you as a parent, but I hope that you do not let your kid have an iPad. Do not let them near them. Their minds will be sucked out. They will have little floating, like I talked about, floating baby heads. That's like one of the symbols I draw from all the time. But do not let your kids have iPads.
I don't want to put a smartphone in my kid's hand for quite a while. I know when I grew up, I didn't have my first smartphone until I was like 20 years old when I got back from an LDS mission. But that was the first time I had a smartphone. And it did change my life, not necessarily for the better, but
I agree. I got my first phone at 19. There was a period of meme analysis where I did not have a phone or anything.
It's a good life. The shell is a good life, man. But it's hard. Also, sorry, go ahead.
I got a phone in 4th grade, so I'm beyond fucked. I've learned to live with the memes. What were you going to say?
I was gonna say it's kind of hard being a parent to not let your kid just consume the TV, because my little girl, she will sit down and just watch Moana or whatever. She'll watch it 3 times a day if I let her. So I realize that a lot of her development is completely dependent on my ability to take her outside and do stuff with her. And if I get too busy, she's just gonna sit there. So
just show her young interviews.
Yeah,
that's the only but like colorize them so that it's like bright and shiny.
I read to her. I read young to her at night sometimes.
Yo, that's awesome. I mean, that was the fundamental. That was the formative reading that I had as a child. It was like Tolkien and C.S. Lewis. When I was very, very little, I could not read it myself. This is when I was a babe. But those are kind of what spurred my interest. And before that, it was Greek mythology, but kind of the avenues that it took. That was the most important reading of my life that inspired me to be interested in symbolism forever. We do need a Carl Jung cartoon. Scruddily. Anybody out there who does animation? I know I have one viewer who's an animator, a really interesting one. He did the music video for XXX Tentacion's Sauce. Open call to animators. Collab with us. Let's make a Carl Jung cartoon.
Let's do it. I would be so down to work on that project. That would be a damn good project to do.
Or even just Jungian cartoons that we can educate them as to the archetypal underpinnings of the world.
Yeah, I'd say just to make it more palatable, if you wanted like mainstream attention, you'd want to like bake the ideas into a narrative structure. I probably shouldn't talk about this, but I was like reached out to by a project some time ago. I met this woman who was doing this and had seed funding. Where she was trying to make a sort of think like Sesame Street, but if it existed on all of the media platforms. So maybe there's a connection there.
I think we're past that point. There's no more point in syndicated children's TV. Children's TV is a thing of the past. I think money should go towards adult work, because kids are satisfied with like two-tone color pigs moving to songs. They don't need well constructed material. And then by the time that they want to like hear words or have a plot, they're already watching like Saw and Hostel, because that's what the fucking internet does. Really, it goes straight from Peppa Pig Chinese knockoffs to like Eli Roth Hostel.
This makes me think
I'm not
of
looking forward to that.
The Elsa Gate shit. Like
that's
was
the synthesis.
To me, that was that's like if you let I don't know, what do y'all think? Is there like a nefarious current to that, or is that like if you free market the production of children's cartoon stuff, like these taboos emerge and certain imagery, it's like it's so kind of like sticky to the mind that the people are like, oh, I'm getting more engagement when I'm doing this weird like fetish oriented stuff? Or is it like there is a real, fucking CIA, whatever you want to call it, like we're going to put this in people's feed?
Well, I think it's simultaneous. Of course it is. So it's a natural existing taboo, but it's facilitated by the media treatment. Like I think like the needle in the butt is like one of the really prominent Elsa Gate images.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when this went untapped and YouTube thought that they could just like, oh wow, we dealt with it like 5 years afterwards.
Yeah.
But it's ridiculous. But no, cartoons, I think everybody, this is mandatory viewing. If you want to stay subscribed to this channel, get off this when we're done and you go and you watch Crumb. You go and you watch the David Lynch produced Crumb, about the cartoonist R. Crumb, the influence cartoons had on his sexual development. It's unbelievable. It's the most, if you want to know like what kids are like today, Crumb is the archetype.
I haven't seen that.
It's a horrific movie. Really, really horrible.
Ooh. What's been happening in the memosphere? I feel we need one more pertinent topic. I don't want to talk about wet ass pussy. That's pretty boring meme.
I'll go on the gram.
There was something I had texted you about, Chris, that I wanted to talk about. I can't. Oh, it was in reference to your video. I'm curious to, we talked about what was the theme of the video again? I had like a whole little thing. Was it the red pill philosophy? Lookism, yeah. Okay. So while watching the video, I had watched it and immediately after opened up TikTok, and the first video I see is like a male model type person with like a small following doing kind of this aesthetic edit of him just going about his day, doing whatever it is he does in his day. And I could immediately like hear in my head this voice of the persona of all the incel forums I've read being like, oh, it's lookism in action. This guy he's gonna get so much pussy because he has the perfect jawline. Blah 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 blah. I wonder the degrees to which like the media apparatus that we're constantly being fed both fosters like a more resolute like scopophilic tendency. Additionally, like, these types of like, what is the e-boy in relation if women tend not to be as scopophilic? What is the e-boy necessarily? Because that does seem to be like it's very
gender
visual.
Play. It's a contextual. Okay. It's contextual. That clothing removed from the realm of taboo would be relatively unimportant, which is why you can see other aesthetic guys, like the goth guys, don't do as well as the femboys, because there's not a gendered taboo which is being played with. But what one of the big points I wanted to make, and do you know about like the gym meme of how like guys who lift, they think, oh, I'm going to get girls, but they end up paying attention to guys and guys paying attention to them. That is because lifting weights is a scopophilic. It is intending to please scopophilic individuals. And that is why lookism is so deeply, deeply homosexual. It's profound how much they will look at men's bodies and care about men's bodies above all else. And their desire to reduce all of life to males' bodies, I think, is revealing a deep repression of life. Of course, it's too they're too comfortable. And I'm not. This is in fact this is why I think the people who are out, the homosexuals who are out, are good and actually adept at being alive. And it is the people who repress their homosexuality, like Mike Pence, who are like these really deeply twisted people, because they project their value systems. They project a very bizarre system of valuation that only a repressed homosexual could have.
Let's maybe this is going to be some foreshadowing to some work that might occur in the future, but what would you say, what kinds of repression or neuroses would you see in maybe some of the far right Groyper elite? What do you see some of that dialogue preying upon?
They're in, like, which insecurities of theirs? Which well, I think that, okay, so tradcaths, like, I've made the tweet from our podcast, like, tradcaths can't watch anime pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Because yet again, they already value the anime girl higher than Mary. They are not. And also, I just wanted to clarify one thing very quickly. When I'm talking about scopophilia, I'm talking about this distinctly in the Freudian sense. So I would highly suggest reading Freud's essay on fetishism to understand what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the male sexuality being scopophilic in a way that women's is not. Anyway, Groyper unconscious. This is something, if you read a lot of like Nazi meme people, and there's a really good page, and it's like Politogram Museum, and people will just send in like really astoundingly dumb and silly things, and it's really beautiful. And that was the thing that was horrific, because I saw somebody parroting and perverting my ideas there. They were basically saying like, well, no, anime girls are better than real women because they embody the anima. It's like, no. But I know it's awful. It's awful, 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 awful. But all of their, like, all the Nazi fears, all of the Nazi narrative is based on a sexual fantasy. Like, when they talk about like a white replacement, that's what they fucking get turned on by. They are aroused by that concept. When they are imagining, their poor national women being abused in the streets, that is a fetish. That is a fantasy, an erotic fantasy to them. The barbarians at the gate, that is their shadow. They don't realize that. Mm-hmm. They can't realize that because everything would fall apart. And so when you say like, yeah, that's not happening, this is made up, it's like, no, because it's literally the deepest thing. It's so wrapped up in their sexuality. It is wrapped in their deepest essence. How can you?
It is happening just on the inside.
Yes. That's the part. Yeah. See, that's what I'd missed. It is precisely that. All of their ideas happen internally. So it is very real. It's these wars, these conflicts are raging inside of them. And because they are so in their heads, or all the way in their bodies, they cannot see that it's not happening. And if you say like, well, this isn't happening, they will despise you because they despise reality.
It makes me think of a question I received, and maybe this is something to think about in whatever like further content is on this subject, because I do think the Groyper allegiance is something to be discussed, because it is a very like popular subcurrent. Is Catboy Kami. He was like a pinprick inside of Nick Fuentes's like shield, where people used it to criticize him because he went out with this like Australian. He's very buff. He wears like cat ears and does kind of like a lot of very out there stuff to attract attention online. Someone mentioned it in the chat just then, but that is its own. It's I love the infighting on these things because it just like shows how similar some of these political factions function, regardless of like the allegiance to particular ideas. But that's an idea as well.
Well, Treacherous puts it like, is there something wrong with going out with femboys? Of course not. If you are an individual, but to the Fuentes people, to the Groiper people, that is that is haram. That is a sin. That is a grave sin because they hate gay people because they are deeply homosexual. You know, the meme of it's true. You can't. It's unbelievable the kind of defenses that go on. Anyway, we are going to go. I think 1 hour it should be the limit, but all three of us obviously will do it again. Sorry for exiting out at several times. There was important future problems at hand. But it's been fun. It's been good. I think we covered good stuff. I'm going to rewatch it in the future so that I can get the full picture. It's been good. Thank you all for coming. Anybody who is interested in working on the cartoon with us, hit me up on Instagram. And people that messaged me on Instagram yesterday, I'm getting back to you. I just have like 20 people. It takes time, but we're coming. Also, I'm going to ban. I'm not even going to bother. But Card Shy Guy, thank you. I hope all has been well. We did some work previously. And speaking of which, anybody who is still watching, if you want to do some tarot card reading, if you want to do some private lessons, reach out to me. We will have a good time. We will learn and do things. It's been good. Thank you all for coming. And yeah, Drama, you can come on. But I think keeping it to 3 is a good number dynamic. It's been good. All right, everybody. See y'all later. Goodbye.